I realize that when a team wins a Super Bowl, it's not just because of one person. Even if you're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and saying the difference between the Chiefs and the 49ers is the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, the 49ers don't. That's true. Certainly a reason for the difference. Certainly a reason that the Kansas City Chiefs just repeated as Super Bowl champions, and a reason why the 49ers didn't win the Super Bowl. But that alone is not the only reason. However, when you talk about the quarterback position, we know how important that truly is. Most important position on the field, most important position in North American professional sports. Don't agree, argue with a wall. There's nothing close. It is quarterback. But when you think about the actual team, the other most important position, if you will, is head coach. Full stop, period. You either have that dude at head coach or you don't. And when I look at the 49ers, this is a team that continues to pay the price for not taking Patrick Mahomes in 2017, for not getting the quarterback position right, for convincing themselves that Brock Purdy is that level of dude. Because when shit came to get in the fourth quarter in order to overtime and you need some really big plays, you're trying to scheme shit to make it easy for Purdy. You're running the ball a ton. He's just not that level of dude. He requires too much great and perfect around him. And if any of that goes wrong, there's a problem. Now, certainly looking at last night's Super Bowl 58, there are many reasons why the 49ers didn't win. But at some point in time, we got to start asking when it's time to have the Kyle Shanahan conversation. Like real talk. At what point in time do we start having that conversation about whether the 49ers need to consider moving on from him? At what point in time do we come to the realization that Kyle Shanahan just isn't that level of head coach? And in big game moments and big game situations, he will, he'll pull a Peyton Manning to use a spin of phrase. I mean, at what point in time do you look at the coach and say, what more do you fucking need? Even though it sounds like I was just burying Brock Purdy, I really wasn't. But there's a clear difference between him and, let's say, a Patrick Mahomes, right? But Purdy can do a lot of good things in an offense. He's poised, he's got great feel, really good field vision, accuracy, ability to move within the pocket, the ability to extend plays while still looking down the field. All of that. He's got a noodle for a fucking arm, but to some degree, so does Joe Burrow. And the Bengals have been able to figure that out and make it work. But you have to be great at everything else. And Purdy is really good to great at a number of other things, but his arm is noodle strength. It is nothing. And you saw that several times during the Super Bowl. However, Purdy's also not going to fuck up a bunch. He's not going to, in those big spots, put the ball at risk a ton. And we saw that in the Super Bowl last night. So while you can say Brock Purdy certainly didn't win them the game, he certainly didn't lose them the game. So what else is there? And at some point in time, you got to take a look at this team loaded with Pro Bowlers, loaded with all pros, from Deebo Samuel to Christian McCaffrey to George Kittle to Trent Williams on offense to the defensive side of the ball and guys like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. And you say to yourself, how many more fucking superstars does a team need in order to be able to get over the damn hump? And when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, it's too easy to say, well, if they had the quarterback right, they'd have 3 Super Bowl championships over the past 5 years, and we'd be talking about them being the dynasty of the NFL. But it's not entirely untrue. Like, you only get so many of these fucking opportunities. You only can get so many of these chances. That's the nature of the modern NFL. And with as much talent as the 49ers have on both sides of the ball, where does it go wrong? At some point in time, you got to look at the head coach, Kyle Shanahan. You see people online today pointing out in the fourth quarter and overtime some of the atrocious protections that the offensive line ran. You talk about the play calling philosophy and how in the middle of the game it felt like he went away from the run game too damn much. But he went to the run game when it mattered to some degree, but when real shit came to get, it just wasn't there. You get to freaking overtime. And this dude sits there and says we want the ball first. Do you not understand the rules of fucking overtime in the playoffs now? Why in the hell would you want the pressure of going first and not knowing whether the Chiefs are going to score a touchdown or a field goal or what the hell is going to happen? You put yourself at a disadvantage. And I realize a lot of people look at Kyle Shanahan and think like he's a great and tremendous offensive mind and play caller. Yeah, he is. But his game management, his situational awareness is absolute dog shit. It was in the 2016 season in that Super Bowl against the Patriots, 28-3. What the hell more do you have to say? And you've seen this time after time. This isn't the first time the 49ers have pissed away a double-digit lead to the freaking Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl under Kyle Shanahan. And if you want to mix in there the 2021 season and that NFC Championship game against the Rams, you could blame Jaquiski Tartt all you fucking want for dropping that INT from Stafford late. But at some point in time, you got to look at the guy in charge. The guy that was gung-ho about Jimmy Garbage Pail. The guy that couldn't wait to get Trey Lance until he didn't want him any fucking more because he wanted Brock Purdy. Like, he's a big part of those decisions. At what point in time do we have the Kyle Shanahan conversation about he's not going to win a championship in San Francisco and they need to move the fuck on from him? I know you're going to say, well, that feels sacrilegious to sit there and say that about a guy whose team went 12-5 this year, 13-4 last year, 10-7 the year before. And then in 2019, they were 13-3, and they've been to 4 NFC Championship games in the past 5 years, made it to the Super Bowl twice, and at the end of the day, they have 0 fucking rings. And you want to talk about Kyle Shanahan, he's still, even with those great seasons, only 64-51 as a head coach. And yeah, some of those 49ers teams were kind of lean in talent, especially 2017 and 2018, but could some of that be a reflection of him as an actual head coach too? Like, how many opportunities, how many chances do you get at this? The 49ers are a team built to win now. The 49ers are a team that have loads of talent. Yet the 49ers, year after year, time after time, come up fucking short when it matters most. At what point in time do you look at the head coach? If you want to say look at the general manager, John Lynch, oh, fine, right? He's the one that's led the way in terms of building the roster and drafting the players and aligning with Shanahan's vision in terms of what he wants at quarterback. And that type of shit has bit them in the ass multiple times. Like, it's even fair to say, well, even if Shanahan had Patrick Mahomes, they win at least three Super Bowls over the past 5 years. Maybe they do. But with Shanahan's propensity for fucking it up and choking, who's to say that he wins any damn Super Bowls? Like, how many times can you look at a head coach and say that he's lost 2 Super Bowls in a 5-year stretch and have tremendous confidence that he'll be able to just learn and figure it out? That excuse and bullshit works the first time. It don't so much the second time. It becomes a trend and a pattern. Now, I fully realize the 49ers are not going to fire Kyle Shanahan because they're addicted to coming up short. They're addicted to not finishing their story, if you will. But they really need to have that hard look in the mirror and say, what the fuck is wrong here? And at some point in time, the finger in the mirror has got to be pointing back at Kyle Shanahan and saying, the problem is you. As I come back again to overtime, imagine that 49ers drive could have played out the exact same, but you're in third down in around the 5-yard line or so, right? Now you know the Chiefs have already scored a touchdown. You know you've got 2 plays to get it. And then you have a decision, if you get the touchdown, do you want to go for 2 and try to win it right there? What a gutsy call that would be, right? But instead he goes first. Play gets busted up because of the interior pressure and 3rd and goal. Now you got to settle for a field goal. And you put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands with a chance to close you out and win it. It's like sitting there back in the day and saying, hey, Michael Jordan, let's give you the ball without double teaming you in the 4th quarter. That's going to work out really well for the defense. You just don't do that. So yeah, the Kyle Shanahan conversation needs to be had, because this is not a one-off. This is not a fluke. This is not a shit happens scenario. This is a trend with this motherfucker. This is a pattern, and not a good one. And it is really, really hard to see how the 49ers, who have paid a ton of money to a bunch of people. I didn't even bring up Brandon Ayuk earlier, who's a fucking stud himself, but he's going to want to get paid. Like, you can't keep everybody. What happens all of a sudden when you can't keep all these guys long term? What happens all of a sudden when you have to pay Brock Purdy $50+ million a year? What happens when you have to look to him to be that level of dude when he's not that level of dude? What happens when some of your stars start to get closer to 30? Like, this is your window, and your window is basically slamming shut. You got a great MVP caliber type of season out of Christian McCaffrey. He stayed healthy. Who says he stays healthy ever again for a full season? Then what the fuck do you do? Debo and Kittle are great, but they always seem to be missing games here and there for some shit. Like, the 49ers with their key players for the most part were pretty healthy this year. Sure, they got unlucky in the Super Bowl. Debo got dinged up a little bit. Of course he did, because he's Debo. Dre Greenlaw tearing his Achilles like that. That fucking sucks. Absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, though, talent can't be a reason that this team didn't win. It just can't be. Most people thought all season, and reasonably so, that the 49ers had one of the best, if not the best, and most talented, and certainly most star-studded rosters in all of the National Football League. What determines whether you win or lose in the NFL is talent and coaching. Well, if the 49ers have the talent, I believe we have established they clearly fucking do, that only leaves one option, and that's coaching. And who's the guy at the end of the day? The buck stops with him. It's Kyle Shanahan. Like we talk about, well, the 49ers aren't going to win a championship with Brock Purdy as a quarterback. I kind of believe that, but I kind of don't. However, one thing I continue to be even more convinced about is the conversation is focused in the wrong area. As long as Kyle Shanahan is the San Francisco 49ers head coach, they will never win a Super Bowl. Blame Brock Purdy all you want. Blame other factors all you want. There's one common theme in all these choke jobs and fuck-ups where Kyle Shanahan has been the past 8 years. And that's Kyle damn Shanahan.